grounds. Now we get Icebound and Bunker in the same series, so definitely a super unorthodox series. I mean, when you have teams like this, they're always trying to kind of out-strategize each other. They're kind of the two smartest teams we have historically, so always trying to get the upper hand on one another, and so we're seeing definitely some differences in map picks, which is what I like to see. I like to see teams trying new things, I like to see teams kind of taking it to a new level, and again, we are a few weeks away from that major, so everyone kind of really trying to figure out where they stand. At the end of the day, both of these teams expect to see each other in the finals, so they want to make sure they can kind of get all the stops out, figure out where their advantage can come for that major.
Definitely a lot to be excited for when it comes down to Mexico City. Like we said, all of this in preparation for the event. It's for the 5th time in Emergence Day's Grand Final. Reciprocity and Endgame will meet up. And in terms of if you've been counting, map count for both of these teams, 4 and 6 for Reciprocity, 6 and 4 for Endgame. However, both of these teams, they have traded 2 victories for Reciprocity, 2 losses for Reciprocity, and on the other side, 2 wins for Endgame, 2 losses for Endgame. This will decide which team reaches 4 championships first, and which team will have the head-to-head victory versus one another. One of these teams is going to be 3 and 2, and overall have the most championships in Emergence Day's history after this one is over, which makes it just the more intense. We start things off, at least so far, with a very even game, so much so that I'd highly recommend you try to slow down the Twitch stream and see exactly who has the minor advantage, the 0.1%, but somewhat standard when it comes down to Icebound. You get to hear that snow quite a bit. Things start to develop, and Franchise, he's prepared on one side of the map, while on the other, Reciprocity trying to go for a few revives as Kenny has to back his way out.
Looks like the initial play sort of being made over towards the home hills. You saw pretty much a stalemate over at B as the first kill finally comes underway. It is going to be Icy. And the party started, of course, around these long spawn rounds. You see players dance around that hill trying to get that cap. A lot of chain arrives are going to come through, and the B hill will finally be capped. No kills will come through just yet, but that will put Fran on his last down. He has to be careful. And finally, we have a team taking the lead. It is going to be Reciprocity. And for me, I'm kind of interested in seeing their performance on this map because we don't see it from them very often. It's a kill on the Solars and trading posts. The trades do come through. Really powers to get that down from across the map, so it's going to be kind of the race for Summons to get that revive, and meanwhile on the other end, Reciprocity gets some team fire in there as these two players are sort of pinned down. And if you're Reciprocity, you're okay with these players being pinned down. You have the 2-cap over at B, so if you have them stuck in trading posts, not the worst situation possible. On the other end, as Endgame tries to kind of turn the tide, you're going to see Mental get a kill, Solars get a kill, 5v3 situation now in favor of Endgame. Reciprocity has come out with time lead.
They have indeed powers from the top side, providing some pistol fire for the squad, as that will be 2 easy picks. As Powers actually going to just get here in time for the revive. Does do so, but has to sacrifice his life. In the meantime, here comes the flash. Endgame, they're used to the photography. They're used to all the pictures and rushes made into a shield. As Icy has to watch his fallen comrade, it looks like there will be a pickup there for Endgame. The attack is still on as Franchise loses his life. Mental manages to retake control of Red Sea.
Yeah, that was a good break. You kind of see the communication there. They got the 2 kills. The 3 members they very quickly identified were over at B, so Franchise made his way over to get that break onto C. Went for the full cap, and unfortunately saw kind of a misroll there. Ended up getting chunked, but those breaks even can be so helpful. You're going to see how close this scoreline is going to turn out to be right now. The Swarm team does have the win condition, so if Endgame can manage to hang on to this 2-cap, that will be huge, but a couple players do go down. Kenny's in the kill feed. Powers does get the break onto B. That will be necessary. You're going to need to see Praise make a huge play on the backside. Unfortunately for him, Reciprocity has the information. They're trying to cross him out. This round is looking very good for Reciprocity.
It absolutely is. Smoke is out. Endgame trying to do anything they possibly can. Explosive actually manages to shoot the ice, which does take down Fran. All things considered, as the smoke begins to dissipate, it will reveal what ultimately is the game score, rather the round score, which will be Reciprocity walking away with the first. And that 3:31 round timer, I'd say, is probably going to be a common trend throughout the rest of this map, Ryan.
Yeah, I anticipate these rounds being pretty drawn out, unless someone places something over towards trading post or any kind of drop shot that's going to at least force the action some way or another. As the map stands right now, of course, without any of that utility on there, without any of those placements, definitely is a fairly slow-playing map in the grand scheme of things. And in general, I mean, we've kind of seen the slow game favor Reciprocity. When the game first came out, when Gears of War 5 dropped with Escalation 2.0 and you had rocket launchers on the sides, Reciprocity was definitely the best team, right? They were the best at kind of, obviously using power weapons, but getting those picks and kind of playing that slow game. That's kind of their, I wouldn't say they're necessarily their style, but they're probably the best at the slow style, if that kind of makes sense. So to me, I think that you said if a game continues to be slow, if these rounds continue to be drawn out, I kind of do favor Rec in these situations.
Definitely something to keep in mind. And that kind of is indicative of the way that both these teams have won versus each other. Reciprocity has always 2-1 in-game when they win. In-game has always 2-0'd Reciprocity when they win. Both teams definitely have more of a style when it comes down to things in franchise. First blood found onto Summons, and that may be one of many to come as Powers providing some nice pistol fire from long range, threading the needle back and forth as Rushy's Powers establishing that kind of main line throughout the middle. Kenny's keeping in mind that ice push. As Reciprocity, they're setting up shop.
It's how they kind of pushed him back there, right? So if you're endgame, you kind of have to back up. And so they basically use that to force their positioning back to secure the cap on the B. So they weren't necessarily maybe, I'm sure if the kills were presented, they would have definitely gone for him, but they were more so trying to affect their positioning versus chasing down those kills. So now Reciprocity starts to build that lead, and you're going to see endgame start to throw some resources over towards the home. It's kind of the natural progression of this map. Powers definitely gets the information. He knows what's coming. He starts to back off himself. He saw the player crossing over. They have the mark, so they at the very least know where two players are. And a lot of times, like I said, on this map, when the B hill's locked down, you kind of know that it's so hard to kind of get the break on, get the cap on, whatever it may be. The natural progression is just to instantly kind of push past trading post, try to hit the home hill the best you can, and Reciprocity's just waiting in the meantime. They're getting quite a lead. Solar's maybe the tip of that spear. Powers hits him with a back A and finishes off explosive for good measure. Mental knows his two teammates got absolutely obliterated. He has no choice but to move back, and Powers, he's even getting a little more aggressive. He's going to try and push Mental now on their spawn, but on the other end, looks like endgame is getting a couple kills over towards B, so despite Reciprocity grabbing the home hill, looked like Praise and Summons did a pretty good job over at B, and now Praise kind of making a decision of where he moves next. He has some information sort of where these Reciprocity players are. But does he want to get aggressive? Because there are going to be a couple off spawn.
That's the thing, that particular fight, the major win that Endgame has at B, not only gives them the hill, but it also saves them in this game. Things go the opposite direction. This round is probably over, but still holding on. Rushy's up close, takes down Explosive. The force needs to come through from Endgame. They have to try and make a play, and look at player number one. That's Powers going for the decap onto B. And a solid attempt from Endgame, but one that is instantly foiled, as that will be back-to-back rounds from Reciprocity. This one a little bit shorter, but not by much.
Yeah, still felt like a very long-winded round, I would say. And you got Powers in there at 10 eliminations and only 1 death through the first couple rounds.
It's pretty good, Ryan. It's pretty good.
You know, he's all right at the game.
Yeah,
I think it's fair. I'll give him a little bit of credit.
He gets enough gas, you know.
I was say, yeah. He's got to be careful
As if he needs
how much I gas that guy.
Yeah, exactly. Solid stuff from Reciprocity so far. And I mean, have you seen anything in particular? Of course, this is Endgame's pick, right? This is their map choice in particular. Are you surprised by the way that they've come out, or do you think it's a little bit too early to call before we start initiating Reciprocity as the lead, or rather the leaders on Icebound in particular?
Yeah, I think I want to see a couple more rounds. But I mean, so far, like I said, they have been kind of slow-paced rounds, and on the slow-paced rounds, I favor Reciprocity. I think that they play the slow game better than anyone. They have the smartest players, I would say, in franchising Kenny, who are good at kind of identifying that. Fran, obviously great at calling pushes, setups, whatever it may be, rotations. So to me, when the game is slowed down and you're able to kind of, pick things apart, I always favor that team.
We talk about Bunker. Not going to get any easier. Rather, not going to get any faster when it comes down to this series. Reciprocity, they may be on their home ground, as one player decides to actually force the issue over toward B. That's now a 3 versus 2. That player being Rushy's. We'll see if they want to dance themselves to a B cap. Powers, we saw him do some major things just this last time, establishing some control. Endgame, they're trying to force the issue, but it's Rushy's who's carving up the opposition in the back lines. 2 versus 1, and Powers, while he's taking some damage, it doesn't matter. Reciprocity, they managed to cycle in perfectly, and a lovely smoke coming in from Endgame. But Powers, he's got all the control in the world. He can roam where he pleases. A domination attempt as Kenny has made the rotation. Hits a nice shot on to Explosive and Co. Trying to stay up, and Kenny's causing havoc on one side. Endgame will manage to retake control over their own home hill. Keep in mind, B still in limbo, but Reciprocity, they've got the advantage and they've got vision here with Powers.
Yeah, Power's going to kind of just be a nuisance over the side of those players. Endgame does get the cap onto B. In the meantime, a bit of a 2v2, I would say, over towards Trading Post. Icy and Power still have some decent positioning, but without that B hill, it's not going to be super, super helpful. Now Endgame find themselves in position to take that time lead. It seemed like Reciprocity over towards this side of the map did a great job getting those kills, but on the other end, a couple kills did come through for Endgame. Reciprocity are toying with the break. Weren't able to fully secure it just yet. Looks like the revives were there, so Endgame with 3 members over towards B, a couple members over out towards C. New incense on each side, so let's see kind of where these teams choose to use it. Solars is forced to move out of that position. Powers gets the down, and the kill is there. That's definitely going to give Reciprocity an advantage over at least towards the B side of the map. Kenny does get down, but the revive is there. Endgame did build about a 20-point lead in the meantime. Let's see if they try to make a little more successful of a push over at Trading. Powers is in there waiting, and just in these close quarter kind of areas, he's such a hard player to kill. He's so good at just moving quick, so good at kind of using those small covers to his advantage, and you can see just the amount of attention he commands by himself. Wow. They finally do drop him. 2 members also drop.
Icy, can he get the pick? No!
This is a big for Endgame, yeah. Rushies and Icy, the last 2 alive. They're going to get taken out. Not only now do Endgame have the 2 cap at the 200-point mark, they have mass numbers in the map. You got to imagine them on all 3 hills. No one from Reciprocity can even spawn back in. Endgame looking to put themselves now on the board. I don't think anything Rec can do. Yeah, that's going to be round.
Seems to be the case. Icy last man up and not going to be able to do much in that sequence as Endgame continuing to play the long game. This time, it will manage to go in their favor. But like we said, it was kind of a matter of finally breaking through that one perspective, right? The same point of view that we've seen Powers dominate in. It's no coincidence that he falls in the round, manages to be handed over toward Endgame this time. But still, Endgame, that's the round that you need to win, right? You don't want to go down 3-0. That's when Havoc starts to kind of form, and you're starting to worry about how the last round of the half goes. But this is already a swing round. Reciprocity, they go up 3-1. That's still a major victory in their book, considering this is Endgame's map choice. If you're Endgame, just bring it back. Continue to cycle it back. Bring this one to an even playing field. We've seen them in round 9s aplenty tonight. In fact, their victory to get to the finals came off of 2 round 9 Ws versus Rise Nation on Exhibit and Asylum. But let's focus the attention now again toward Icebound. Round number 4, currently in our perspective as Rushies has to watch his teammate falter. Different player, different perspective, new line of sight. Engagements beginning to partake as here comes the flash. They force out Rushies. He's actually just going to jump out the window. He'll be taken down. Solid start for Endgame, all things considered.
Yeah, you saw Powers got to get that down to get a little over aggressive, and Endgame was kind of right there waiting, made him pay quickly. Able to extend those numbers out. I don't think now Endgame in a good position to grab a hold of this B hill. You're going to see now Praise holding down Trading Post, which seemed like was sort of Powers' default spot for the first few rounds. So now Endgame gets kind of play that same game, dancing around B. Getting those chain revives in there, kind of trading off who gets to stand on the hill, who's going to revive. And the hill is going to be capped. So now the role's going to be reversed. You're going to see Praise holding down. He hits him with an absolute brick, not once, but twice. As he continues to grab that meat shield and continue to kind of just hold his spacing as best he can. But Powers is there, hits him around the cover. I believe Solars falls at the same time. So it is going to be Reciprocity now who have the numbers back. And it looks like Powers is going to get behind enemy lines a little bit. Explosive knows he's there.
He's got the decap.
It's going to be a nuisance right now as Powers, instead of shooting the players in front of him, actually goes for Explosive. And look at the teamwork from Reciprocity coming out towards B. They have ANC. Explosive is kind of trapped up top, and now they're hopping on the B hill.
All things looking good. Powers manages to find the first. Endgame off of spawn. Praise is trying to hold on to his own home hill. Manages to tag one on the side of Rushies, but he'll falter. Beginning to be taken down. Endgame, they're trying to force the issue. They're trying to break people in, but they're knocking on the door, and the door is being slammed right in their face. Reciprocity, a commanding round. The fastest one so far, as that will give them a 3-1 edge after the first half, with Powers leading the way at 17-4.
Even when the trading post isn't his on the initial, he always finds a way to go in there and take it back. And Praise did a good job defending that early. Like I said, that's kind of his wheelhouse too, right? He can kind of get over that cover and hit him with a lot of big LTs kind of as the players enter. But after that, he tried to back roll, and he still continued to put good fire, and he just didn't have the help there as the members of Reciprocity flooded through. And then Powers, like I said, hit that kind of wrap shot around the cover that was the finishing blow. And from there, you saw how he's able to kind of jump over and just kind of create havoc behind enemy lines over for endgame. He pushed Explosive off that kind of overlook top, which, by the way, is easier to do now that the map has been changed. So now you can actually shoot up towards that area. So I pushed Explosive back. He came around, hit those players with the pistol, and then from there, Reciprocity did what they did best. They pinched, they used their teamwork, and they just blew them out.
Another swing round. Reciprocity, imagine if they could go up 4-1. What that would mean in game. They've got to, like we said, cycle them back, bring this game back to their playing field. As you called it, Ryan, slower pace seems to favor Reciprocity a majority of the time. And Bunker, game number 2, being Reciprocity's map choice. Game not going to get any faster than this. As things start to slow down, overall score currently in the advantage of Reciprocity, so endgame may have to make the first play. Until pushed on in and praised, also starting to fill the gap, 3 versus 3. Keep in mind, overall, players at different perspectives is now Reciprocity. They've got a solid 4 stack.
Right position.
Tossing over some utility, handing over some flashes. And keep in mind what Rushies is doing. He'll also be joining the fray. Maybe he wants to get in that tight corner, as he may be the first player to try to distance out the guys just off to the right. In game, they've got to be prepared for this. Like the visuals are on their lock, even tossing out a few emotes. Icy firing on a few bullets as well.
And technically, Rec is okay with this because they have about a half-second lead. So if this were to actually stay all the way through to 250, they would get the round win. Of course, the likelihood of that is very, very small. But we've actually seen it, I think, a couple times I've seen it. It was very early on in the qualifiers. I believe it was, I think it was Mazer playing someone. I think I saw it happen. And,
oh, man.
But you gotta have a special set of circumstances, I would say.
But I love this. Like, this is so intense, like, between both these teams. Like, obviously they're emoting, but still,
it becomes like a chess match. Like, it becomes about where your move gets made, and
there's the break. I love
our
that
answer.
COG team, only 145 seconds. That's all it's gonna take in order for them to walk away with this round. Both teams still hanging on. Both of them respecting the other. And if you're Reciprocity, as you called it, Ryan, hey, you guys by definition have to make the first move, and the move they are making, in fact, the overextension is what they have their focus on. Franchise trying to stay up as Rushies doing some great damage. Dodging the Incen as Rushies carving up summons. Mental walks away with the fight, but a majority of his teammates have unfortunately been taken down. And hanging on toward the top of the staircase, they are doing everything in the wheelhouse to take this man down. And it looks as if they will after a solid 2-minute stalemate. Reciprocity still have yet to capture over at E. Looking to finally make that happen as they're still tossing at utility, but Ryan, endgame, they're still forcing the issue. They're not allowing for this capture to happen anytime soon.
Yeah, that OE gave them about a 10-point lead. But now on the other end, getting a little taste of their own medicine as Rushies has now hit the F-hill.
Oh, man.
And somehow they're on E. The trip cap's underway with endgame being at full strength.
They're having a hard time
versus mental.
again.
Rushies gets the 1v1. It looks like Kenny has used the ice on Icebound to finish off Explosive in the meantime. So now a 5v3 situation that is favoring Reciprocity as we do head towards the last stage of the round. Right now, the only 2 hills in play are Rex. And on a slow game like this, that's just going to make life so much more difficult. And currently, we have endgame with, what, 4 players left on the map. Summons going to get revived. Endgame trying to just push through at least for the E hill, but the 2 members they have on the map are currently sitting over at E. E's not even capped.
And
Reciprocity just keep winning the fight at the home hill. This is short of a miracle. I mean, you got to imagine a Reciprocity round.
It's got to be. Rushies, Reciprocity dominating in-game in their own base. In-game choosing, this one's done, guys. Saying, hey, let's throw in the towel. This round has got to be theirs. And what a round to take for Rec, as that will be 4 rounds to 1. And as you called it, Ryan, at the start of this game, the slow game. It's what they prefer. The definition of the way that round starts is slow. Reciprocity, they walk away with it. Despite the overextension opportunity that Endgame had, Rec, they play great defense. They later on start to go on the overextension. And when you got a guy like Rushies as well, I'll tell you what, man, you just pull out the ace every once in a while and just say, okay, deal with that. How do you face off against this particular guy, and a majority of the time you can't. That's a huge round for Rec to take. In game, they've got to be perfect, and there's the drop shot.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much the panic button is always the drop shot in most cases. We did see a couple instances where players, or teams kind of do put it a little strategically, but in this situation, it's one of those, all right, we're losing every round the way the map is. We have to drastically change it in order for us to have the advantage. So now you're going to see the drop shot, and these are the situations that a lot of times can favor endgame. They're very good at these up kind of in-your-face fights. It's kind of where their personal teamwork can shine through a lot. They have a lot of skilled players. You're seeing how Mental's been playing all night, so getting him in your face is definitely going to be something that's not in your favor. Looks like still teams are playing pretty slow around the weapon, but look at Rushy's kind of behind enemy lines.
Oh, no.
By the way, they're on all 3 hills right now. Do I hear a Mr. Krabs? Is it going to go all the way off? It does. The Mr. Krabs for the 5th round. As we say in Gears, that cannot happen. I can't even imagine what their comms sound like right now. In the midst of the entire fight, all 3 hills start going off. Teams at full strength. Icebound does end in a 5-1 scoreline. And the only quick round we had favored Rec.
My gosh.